baby. Oh, I was going to get the lighter. That's not what I did. As we go through a journey, gonna give people a few minutes to get on live for today. I am very excited. I'm not gonna have any music playing in the background today because we are not gonna get my video taken down. That is not what we're gonna do. Okay, I'll just set this up here. All right. So here we are at our week 2 yoga check-in for the month of October. I'm gonna stop making all that noise here in just a second. I'm lighting my money in abundance candle. This has kind of become a weekly practice for me, like on Sundays when I'm doing planning for Highly Yogivated. And all of you know me off of Highly Yogivated, you know I have another business as well. So I like to light this candle on Sundays to attract all the wealth you deserve. That's what it says. So we're gonna put it up there. My yoga pants are not hot in my stomach. I'm gonna put that up. Yes, skinny people have a stomach to hide too. Do not come for us. Thank you. My little camera's being a little wobbly for some reason. But I am also gonna light my sage. For me, sage and Palo Santo, some people are sensitive to smell, so that I can understand. You know, not vibing with sage and Palo Santo for those reasons. But for me, as long as you don't have any, you know, sensitivities to smell, I highly recommend sage or Palo Santo to be part of your yoga or meditation practice, especially meditation practice, because it helps you be present in the room. It helps you remain present because you're going to continue to smell the sage or Palo Santo or whatever it is that you may be burning. So for me, that is the key element of having sage or Palo Santo or something of that nature in my yoga practice. You'll find other yoga teachers who enjoy it for other reasons. This is just the one that I'm going to share with you today. So I will elaborate a little bit on why, or not why, but how doing yoga every day for the last few days has helped or changed like my weekly, you know, routine and just my weekly vibe. So my daily yoga usually happens in the morning. Um, I committed myself to doing yoga aside from my classes. So even if I have a class that day, I still make sure that I practice yoga on my own, like early in the morning. So like tomorrow, I have a class at a wellness center here in Winston-Salem, and I'm not gonna wait until tomorrow afternoon for that to count as my yoga. But I am going to get on my mat tomorrow morning, probably wake up an hour and a half before I leave for work, and have my own personal yoga practice. um, some mornings that's me coming over here on this green mat and just laying down and doing shavasana, which is a corpse pose. I find that people typically know what that pose is if they don't know any other yoga pose. Um, so yeah, that's how it's helped me. It's helped me be more focused in the mornings for sure. Also helped me in being just a little more prepared for my days. Because obviously, if I'm doing my yoga in the morning, that means that I can't use my mornings to plan my yoga class that I'm having later on in the evening, or to, you know, run through a sequence that I, you know, may want to use in class. So it's definitely helped with my time management skills over the weekend. Um, so if you're watching this video later on, please drop something down in the comments about how practicing yoga, whether throughout this quarter 4 2022 challenge has helped you or changed something for you over the last week, or maybe you're watching this video later on and you commit yourself to doing yoga for a week or 14 days. Drop in the comments how it's helped you. I'm gonna take some water. Um, Speaking of which, it has also increased my water intake. Normally don't drink this brand of bottled water, but here we are today. Um, it's definitely increased my water intake as well. I found myself wanting to lean more towards water versus soda because it was tax season. So I ain't even gonna lie to y'all, I was being a little, willy nilly with my food and my drink choices out here. I was getting Pepsi and stuff. I I hardly ever order a soda when I go out. So just noticing those lifestyle changes as you again make other lifestyle changes, incorporating new practices and habits into your life. So we're gonna get started. I'm way past my 5 to 6 minutes of warming up and getting set up here. So I'm just relighting my sage. It went out a little bit. I like to have it going. Um, I like to have it going pretty good in the beginning of my flow, simply because it just helps me to stay more present in the beginning of my practice, because that's when it's hard for me. It's hardest for me to get on the mat sometimes. Even as a yoga teacher, we have our hard times too of getting on the mat. Aside from teaching, that is. So I'm going to maneuver you all over here to see the mat a little bit better. And if you saw my junkie closet, mind your business. Mind your business. You weren't even supposed to see that. You was just supposed to see the mat. All right. So I was asked to highlight a few postures today on live. So we're gonna start our 15-minute session now. It is 2:08. So come into a nice easy seat on your mat. That can be here in hero's pose. Hero's pose can also be accompanied by a yoga block. Um, I have 2 blocks here that are of different thicknesses. So you can see this one is a little bit thinner on the different edges. So sometimes I have 2 of these. So if I use these, I typically double up. But this one is pretty sturdy. I think this is a Gaiam block. So for hero's pose here, just sit the block at whichever length you desire to have it at, and sit it nice here on the back of the sacrum. So I'll show y'all what the back view of that looks like. So you put your feet on the outside of the block and just back the hips up to the point here on the block where the hip points feel nice and balanced, where you feel nice and easy, restful place here on the mat. Roll the shoulders up and back. You don't want to have the shoulders up here in the ears. You want to allow the shoulders to just slide down the side body. So if you ever hear me say, allow the shoulders to slide down the side body, that's what I mean. Roll the shoulders up and back. And your shoulder blades kind of will sit down in the little pockets there. Sitting up nice and tall. So this may begin to become a little tense here in the backs of the legs, and in the ankles here, since the feet are kind of pointed in a rather awkward direction than how we normally, have our feet. We're usually walking, sitting at a desk, driving. So that counteraction or, range of motion that we're giving to our feet here, could bring up some sensation. So if anything becomes painful, just coming off of the block, knowing that you can just come off of the block here, swing the legs out, and just come to a nice, having the legs out, kicked out in front of you. That this could be your seat, or here in a nice Sukhasana, have a few options for what a comfortable seat on your yoga mat can represent for you. So knowing that you have those as options, hero's pose, sitting here in Sukhasana for easy seat. I like to call this the yoga crisscross applesauce. Again, here you want to roll the shoulders up and back. You don't want to be leaned too far forward or too far back. So I'll turn to the side here to show just how you want to have your alignment. So you don't want to be Fat Joe leaning back. You don't want to be too far forward, like you're trying to, not miss your mouth if you're eating or something. You just want to have the shoulders directly over the hips here, and then have the neck at a nice and neutral place here. So that usually is at where the chin is parallel to the floor. So this is what your Sukhasana should resemble in a restful space. Again, not having the shoulders up in the ears, allowing the shoulders to just relax here in its pockets. We're going to call it shoulder pockets instead of hot pockets. That's what we're going to call them. Finding your breath in this pose, breathing in through the nose. Exhaling through the nose as well. You end up having a little constriction in the throat, so you just kind of hear yourself breathing in and out, in and out. Kind of starts to sound like a little sound wave, or you making your own breath wave, so to speak. So breathing here with intention, breathing with purpose. This is known as Ujjayi breathing in yoga practice. Where your breath is audible, where you can hear the flow of your breath as you inhale and exhale. We'll send the hands up overhead. If the eyes are closed, even taking the gaze up to the hands, even with the eyes closed. The palms are touching, thumbs are clasped around the opposite hand. Exhale, bringing the hands down to heart center. We'll do that once more as a collective. So sending the arms up overhead as you inhale, looking up to the hands. Exhale through the mouth, pushing all stagnant air out. Any negative thoughts that may be coming up, thoughts telling you that you can't do this, that you need to be doing something else right now. Allowing the hands to just rest here at heart center, heart space. Hands coming down to the knees. So we'll plant the hands and roll up into a tabletop. So if what I just did is like, girl, get to tabletop however is most comfortable for you. So here we'll meet in tabletop with the shoulders directly over the wrist, the hips directly over the knees, the tops of the feet are on the mat. Fingers are spread nice and wide. With the middle finger, you should be able to draw a line straight off the yoga mat with your middle finger. We'll inhale, drop the belly, coming into cow pose, gazing up. As you exhale, bring the chin to the chest. Looking between the legs. Coming into angry cat pose. Well, we're not angry, but resembling an angry cat. Inhale, look up. allow the belly to drop. Exhale, you bring the chin into the chest. The gaze goes between the legs, continuing to press the mat away as you go through this series of cat and cow. You can make this cat and cow as fluid as you would like. So maybe even taking some mini micro movements, rocking forward and back here. So again, paying attention to our alignment, noting that at the beginning of bringing us to tabletop, I aligned our shoulders here over our wrists, but taking these micro movements will take your shoulders a little past the wrist in either direction, forward and back. I also invite you to flip the palms so that the fingertips are facing the knees now. The wrist is facing forward. Notice where you feel this in your body. You can flip both palms at the same time. And just the act of flipping the palms is the stretch here. If you work at a desk all day, if you type, write, even holding our phones, texting all day, tweeting, Instagramming, all those things, really working out the fingers, tendons and ligaments here. And even just sitting here, coming back to hero's pose, rolling out the wrists. You can also do those wrist exercises here. You can rock from left to right. Being very gentle here with the wrist. And then flipping the palms back forward. Coming back into our tabletop position when we began. Checking our alignment here, making sure the hips are directly over the knees, shoulders are over the wrists. And we'll come into a child's pose, so sending the hips back over the heels, melting the body down. You can have the knees as wide as the yoga mat if you would like. This gives you more room to make this pose more relaxing. The forehead comes to the mat. Can also have the elbows down on the mat, making this child's pose full relaxation. A deep inhale through the nose. Exhale, making it audible, pushing the air out, opening the mouth. Once more together, deep inhale through the nose. Exhale, opening the mouth. Knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. Thinking of 3 things here you are grateful for. Thanking your body for the movement that it's able to take here today. Thankful for the habit that you're creating throughout this daily yoga practice. And maybe thankful for a friend who has joined you on this yoga journey. Lifting the elbows if you've taken that option here in child's pose. Pressing into the hands. Keeping the knees where they are, especially if you had them as wide as the mat here. So we're going to go into frog pose. So from here, what you want to do for frog pose is, if you can see my foot, my right foot here, I'm just going to kick my foot out. And I'm going to make it so that my knee and my foot are directly in line with each other. So my knee and my ankle are aligned here. So I'm going to do that on both sides. So I'm going to look back, kick my foot out, flex my foot so my toes are coming towards me, and then allow my hips to sink as much as possible. And here we are coming into frog pose. So I really like to use the tabletop, kind of tabletop to child's pose flow to get into frog pose, because it just just flows so well. So it's just a nice transition. And so your options here in frog pose, this is about as far as my hips are going to allow me to go today. And I've accepted that. So wherever your body has taken you here in frog pose, you can bring the forearms down to the mat. However, if your arms and hips are like, girl, I am unable to put my arms down that far, you can use a block, a pillow, a blanket. I'm actually going to double up here on my blocks. And here we are in frog pose. Now notice that even though I am propped up here on the blocks, I'm kind of pressing my heart forward, sending my shoulders again away from my ears. So my shoulders aren't crunched up here in my ears. And again, knowing that you can play around here with the blocks. Again, if you don't have blocks, say, girl, you didn't tell me to bring no props, no blankets, no nothing. This is where you will be for your frog pose. And now the legs may start to shake, because mine did start to shake in that moment. You just want to breathe through those moments. Now, if at any point you start to feel pain, the hip just says, oh, no, this is not working. I want you to just slowly walk the knees in. And then just come back to that hero's pose that we spoke about earlier for a moment. Giving your body just a few cycles of breath to just kind of reset, and then kick the legs out to just assess, what that feeling may have been. So knowing that this is a hip opener, this pose may also bring up different emotions, because we as human beings, especially women, hold emotions in our hips. Again, back in frog pose. Keeping the ankle and knee aligned. Scoot over here. Keeping the knee and ankle aligned here. Knowing that if you want to explore like full splits, middle split, that this is a great prep pose for poses like that. And we'll come back into a wide-legged table here. So again, the knees again as wide as the mat. Hands planted firmly on the mat, just giving the hips a little shake from left to right. And we'll tuck the toes, send the hips up and back for downward facing dog. We'll go over one more hip opener before we end today's practice, which is a great hip opener to get to from downward facing dog, which is called pigeon pose. So exploring your downward facing dog as you need, bending in your legs one at a time. Might start to sound like a bowl of Rice Krispies, but that's okay. So here as we begin to go to pigeon pose, we're going to lift our right foot off of the mat. So you don't want to lift the foot so high to where your body is like, oh, I'm here. Just enough off the mat. We'll bring our knee into our nose. We'll send the leg back to three-legged dog. We'll bring the knee into the nose. So you bring the knee behind your right wrist and let the foot just kind of fall where it may. The left foot that is back there, top of the foot is down. See? So Not having it tucked, but having the top of the foot down. Coming into pigeon pose. And if you are able, can bring the foot closer to the left, closer to being behind the left wrist. But as you can see, there's quite a bit of space here between my foot and left hand, and that's okay. So this is where my pigeon pose begins. So handy dandy block here can go under the hip of the leg that we have in front. So here's my proud pigeon pose. Again, a lovely, lovely hip opener. Again, if you do not have a block, a pillow or a blanket rolled up will do just fine under the hip. And if you're like, oh my gosh, is my hip supposed to be like all the way on the ground? That is the end goal. The end goal is for the hip to be down on the ground and for this shin to be parallel with the front of the mat. Now, if you're looking at me like, girl, you saying a lot of, yeah. But today, you accept yourself on your mat as it comes. So today, this is my pigeon. Tomorrow, my pigeon may look like this. Tomorrow, I may not even be able to do pigeon. My hips may not be feeling pigeon, and that is okay. So I'm going to send my right toes back and go straight into downward facing dog. So I'll take a few bends in the knees here. Notice how you feel in your body after having only done pigeon on one side. Does your right leg feel longer or shorter? Does your right heel feel closer to the ground than it did before? Looking up to the hands in your downward facing dog, checking our foundation, making sure the hands and feet are hips width distance. We'll inhale to lift the left foot off of the mat this time for three-legged dog. Again, not lifting the legs so far up to where the hip is just kind of out here willy-nilly, just enough for the leg to be lifted. The hip is about to get all the action it needs, trust me. So I'll bring the left knee into the nose, go back into three-legged dog. We'll bring the knee into the nose, and then bringing that knee up by the left wrist. As you can see, my knee was a little excited, so it went past my wrist there. So adjusting my pigeon pose as needed. Again, bringing over any blocks, blankets, or props that you want here to accompany you in pigeon pose. Something I neglected to mention in our right-sided pigeon pose is that you can fold over your leg here. This is also where you can apply a block here or here. Still relaxing the shoulders, so not having the shoulders up in the ears at any point, even when you do add props to the posture. Finding your breath here in pigeon pose. You'll feel the belly rise and fall on the thigh. If you've taken the fold over the front leg, slowly coming up. I'm going to remove the hip I placed under my left hip. Tuck my back toes. And also another variation of pigeon where you can go is to grab the back leg. It takes a lot of openness in the hips to have the legs where they need to be here. But some days I practice it, some days I'm just like, get me out of pigeon. So we found our stillness in pigeon. We're gonna make our way back to downward facing dog, creating balance on our mat through poses. So seeing and noticing how this feels in the body after exploring pigeon on both sides. We'll inhale, look up to the hands. We'll start to walk the feet between the hands, having as much of a bend in the knee as you need to get there. Forward fold. We'll complete a quick sun salutation A to end our practice. We'll inhale, come to a halfway lift. Exhale, you forward fold, allowing the crown of the head to be heavy. If you have long hair, a mane like myself, hair may tickle the feet. Maybe the backs of the legs, the hamstrings are tight, so starting to rub the calves up and down the backs of the legs, showing yourself some love. Slowly dropping the arms down, rolling up one vertebrae at a time. Rolling your shoulders up and back before you bring your head up last. Standing nice and tall in mountain pose. On that mountain pose, you can also utilize a block here to help with the feet placement. And standing nice and tall and strong. Not lazy legs to where the block will fall out, but strong to where the block is here above the knees. We'll send the arms up overhead, gazing up. Sorry, you can't see my hands. Exhale, we forward fold, hinging at the hips. Inhale, coming up to halfway lift. Exhale, you fold, planting the hands down on the mat, stepping back one leg at a time. High plank, shoulders directly over the wrist. As you lower down, hugging the elbows into the ribs, coming to a hover above the mat, Chaturanga Dandasana. Before you come all the way down, pressing up into Cobra Pose. Exhale, sending the hips back over the feet. Over the heels, Child's Pose. Taking a cleansing breath here as a collective, we inhale through our nose. Exhale, open in the mouth, sigh it all out. Friends, I invite you to stay here in Child's Pose. Continue to find your yoga flow for today. That will end today's 15-minute yoga flow and Q4 yoga journey check-in. Thank you so much to everyone that is on this journey with us. Don't forget to tag us in your yoga post, whether it's a picture or a video. Use the hashtag Q4 yoga journey. Also another hashtag Q4 yoga journey HY. So we'll see you next Sunday. Peace.